Hello, Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. If you are a loyal On Tap Sportsnet follower, you'll probably sit here and go, son of a bitch, I just saw these two just a little while ago. And you're right. You 100% did. He is Juice. I am Luce. Doubleheader edition. We were on Bears on Tap earlier with our boy Q. Go check that out if you haven't done so already. Juice, my friend, this was one of the most roller coaster ride games I've had in my entire life as a Cubs fan, especially this year. Before we get into anything baseball, dude, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, doubleheader edition with a little costume change. Going ahead in this little Cubs on Tap, rocking the old faithful.
Ye old faithful.
Just getting back to my altar boy days there, Luce. That's some truth. That's some truth. Joyful and triumphant, my friend. You know what they say, like there's always like when you go to Catholic school, you always end up being like the worst. Yeah. Now that probably, fills in a few blanks for you because we're great friends, but I don't think we've ever talked about like where we went to school or things like that. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think we've gotten past the college level.
So this is probably when you first learned, like, holy shit, Juice went to Catholic school. Like that's
sensational.
So ye old faithful hat and ye old faithful shirt, joyful and triumphant. So light the candle, ringy dingy dingy.
Like, subscribe, and ring a dingy dingy is the button that Juice is referring to. Nonetheless, Juice, I mean, Jeremiah puts it very perfectly here in the
Cubbies.
The Dubbies strike again.
Puppies.
Puppies.
Cubbies.
Guppies.
Cubbies.
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 Cubbies. Juice is just trying to confuse me now. But we have two wins to reference here, Juice, tonight. Obviously, tonight's win, chaotic, stressful, exciting, all over the damn place. 11-8 your final on Tuesday night. But we have to talk about, just very quickly, before we get into all of that, friend of the program, ace, Cy Young winner, or he should be at least, MLB All-Star, called on this very show before anybody else. Shouts out Tyler for that. Friend of the program, Justin Steele, threw an absolute fucking gem on Monday afternoon. Labor Day, everybody's sitting in front of your televisions watching the Cubbies because it's a Monday and everybody's off. And you get to watch the best show on the market. It is Justin Steele pitching 8 innings of work, a career-high 12 strikeouts, and 4 total base runners via 2 walks and 2 hits. That's it. That's all that was on Monday, as the Cubs pulled out a 5-0 win to start this series, which is now at a series win after Tuesday's win, and we're going to get into Tuesday's win here in a very hot second. But Juice, flowers where it's due, brother. Bluesdale, Mississippi native shoved on Monday afternoon.
Yeah, it's almost like not a surprise anymore, right? It was funny to like be on Twitter and to watch everybody give him flowers because I feel like you just can't say enough anymore. And everything's been said, right? He's just been that consistency, that guy who takes the ball, gives you a quality start every time. And now we said it at the end of last year when he was so damn good that the Cubs had something here. We obviously thought, all-star level enough. I don't think any of us would have looked at it as like Cy Young, but then looking back at like his second half and what he did over the course of that last year, if the Cy Young were just a second half award last year, he would have been in the running as well. So yeah, it's got to be just such an uncomfortable at bat for a hitter. Like, I mean, everything seems to tilt out of his hand into a right-handed hitter. And for a left-handed hitter, it's like, man, he's probably throwing that cutter and that slider almost like at that left-handed batter's hip. And everything's breaking away. it seems like, the Cubs and him have figured out a pitch sequence that works. He's really done this with 2 pitches. And it's just, I feel like we're watching a kid who's, really, really fucking good right now, but also just scratching the surface of what he even could be. Because if you remember when he was on our show, he was talking about how he's working on a changeup, he's working on command, he's working on keeping things, square, his delivery. I still feel like there's more to Justin Steele that could be unpacked. As he gets older and he works on that changeup and he adds that into his repertoire, he's only going to get nastier. Because now it's like, I don't even know what you would do as a hitter. If you were hitting against him, what pitch are you looking for? Because you're not hitting the slider. That's clear. That's been one of the best pitches in baseball. And good luck squaring up a cutter. I'll tell you that. Some of the best pitchers and the most hardest pitchers to hit in baseball history all featured a cutter. Let's face it. It's one of those pitches that just gets you out in front. It gets you off the end of the bat. It gets you off the inside of the bat. It's something that you can throw, inside and outside and have it come back towards the plate if you're a lefty, or you can, jam somebody in with it. It's, in his case, it's just got to be an uncomfortable at bat. It really does. It's one of those where if I were hitting again, I don't even know what I would even think, what my game plan would be even going in there. I guess you just try to pick up a cutter and do something. Yeah. Even then, you got the guy at third base, Nicky Two Bags over there, who was 5th in defensive runs saved. And
hell of a stat from the broadcast tonight, by the way.
Yeah, which too, my opinion on baseball and just baseball in general, if you can keep the ball on the ground, you're going to be a pretty damn good pitcher. When balls are on the ground, they don't usually go for extra bases. And when balls are on the ground, they can't go out of the ballpark. So, and this is just Justin Steele. And he deserves all the praise that he's been getting. But I still watch him. I'm like, man, I don't think this is the finished product that we're seeing. I think he's got another gear. And I think he would probably tell us that too. Right?
Yeah.
He's got a lot to work on, and he's young, and he's still learning about, how to pitch in the big leagues too. That's what's crazy. He's doing this in his second year, really his first full year of being healthy and taking the ball. And it's amazing to see him so early on in his major league career just have this type of success. I hope he wins the Cy Young. I think it would be just the cherry on top of, this Cubs season's been fun, and he's been a reason it's been fun. But how fun would it be to have one of our guys, a guy that came on our show, who will definitely be on our show in the off season, to talk with us. I want to talk to a Cy Young pitcher and be like, yo, man, how did you do this? Because I think that's the other thing too, that he's such an anomaly, because he's got only 2 pitches. Every starter that you throw out there, it's they seem to have the 5 pitch. You're looking at Snell. Snell has so many, and he's Spencer Strider. So many pitches. Justin Steele's doing this with 2 pitches. That's it. It's crazy. He's been absolutely incredible.
He has been incredible. And honestly, some fun comments here too as well, discussing old number 35, as Bernie says here. Justin Steele says, F Labor Day, I'm working overtime. He sure did. Like Scott says, Cubbies say never die. Jeremiah with a hot take here. He says, Steele is greater than John Lester. Scott follows that up, but that's a bold statement, Jeremiah. He could be right. Lester was like death and taxes in the big moments. And that's the thing. Speaking of big moments with Justin Steele, he admitted, David Ross admitted, he's a big game pitcher. He's a gamer. He's a gamer. In sport, there are talented athletes, and then there are the ones that I call, in the nicest way humanly possible, the sports sickos. The bigger the moment, the bigger the adrenaline rush, the bigger the out of body experience as a human being in those chaotic ass moments, the more they thrive.
Jeter.
Like, that's a very unique person.
I think Jeter every time you talk about that.
Sure, Jeter, John Lester, right? Like, the guys that are playoff heroes, the guys that are,
Big Papi.
Captain Clutch and, whatever it is. Exactly. Those are the people that just in all sports, right? Not just baseball, go down as like, wow, this guy was legendary, because it didn't matter the moment. It didn't matter if it was too big or too small. They stepped up, and it got even crazier in the bigger moments. That was a game yesterday for the Cubs with Steele, where if you lose, especially coming out of the split with the Reds, you might lose a little momentum and a little pep in your step in the dog days of September. No. Justin Steele said, I got this, guys. You know what Justin Steele's truly becoming? He's the slump buster.
Yeah.
He is that guy. There are very few teams in MLB history, folks, where you have that level of an ace, where it does not matter how good or bad your team is playing. If that guy's on the mound that day, you 1,000% have a chance to win. 1,000%. Like, it's not even an odds crapshoot like it is with most guys in the MLB. It is full blown, like, oh shit, he's given us at least 6 of his best baseball. We got a chance, even if we don't bring our best stuff today, to break a slump. Justin Steele is becoming that guy.
Yeah, I think of Jake Arrieta in like 15.
Yes.
Like, that was like every time Jake pitched, A, you wanted to watch, and B, you expected the Cubs to win. You almost marked it on the calendar that they were going to win that day.
Every 5th day, they're not experiencing a losing streak more than 4 games, because every 5th day, it is Justin Steele on the bump. And that's what it's becoming, truthfully. And I love that. It is appointment start television. Literally, I was hanging out with the lady yesterday, and just hanging out at my house, nothing crazy, whatever. And I was like, hey, do you care if we tune in? Justin's on the bump. She's like, no, let's do it. And she was like, man, this would have been a great game to be at. And I was like, what if I told you I had tickets for this game earlier in the year and I wasn't there? And she was like, oh, I was like, well, it was hotter than shit, though. You could take every once in a while, letting Mai Tai be the only guy sweating out in the bleachers by himself on a hot day. But Juice, it's those games that just continue to add the credibility. To me, this is my final thought on the Justin Steele start, because I do want us to get to tonight's game, because tonight's game was fucking bananas. I rode the roller coaster more than I ever have in this. Like, I went from one point in the night where I was angry at people, and I was like trying to pick fights almost on Twitter, to the point where I was just like, this fucking team. Like, legitimately, this fucking team. Like, they really didn't wake up early enough for the 6:40 game today. Like, son of a bitch. They just needed to shake off the snooze, drink a little coffee in the 4th inning, and all of a sudden, bam, this team turns it on. But Justin Steele, his start yesterday, like, don't get me wrong, that Brewers start immediately put, I think, the league on Cy Young watch for Justin Steele. Like, yo, this dude. Yesterday's start, though, that's just another milestone. If I'm a baseball writer voting on the Cy Young, I look at that on a holiday, on a day game, back at home against a team that's nipping at your heels in the NL wild card, and you go out there and do that. That's a notable offense in a good way for the voting at the end of the year. That's a Cy Young level start from Justin Steele on Monday, and I think that's why A, it was so impressive, and B, why it sets us up for tonight's game. So, Juice, any other thoughts on Steele's start before we roll back into Tuesday?
No, I I listen to a lot of stuff around ESPN 1000. I listen to 670. I listen to, a lot of podcasts that are Cubs related, just to catch and see what people are saying. The fact that one of the major news networks out here was having a debate if Justin Steele is an ace still is like completely just asinine to me. Like, who? I turned it off. I said, this is pointless talk, sports radio talk, because this question has been answered if you've watched literally, 6 of his starts this year. It was stupid to me. It was just uncrediting. Like it's one of those, like, you listen and you're like, what are you talking about? And how do you have this job as you sit there and you think, like, is he an ace? Well, yeah, he's absolutely been an ace. And he is your ace. Show me a Cub pitcher on this roster right now that is doing what he's doing. You can't. You literally can't. I mean, maybe other than Javier Assad over the course of the last 6. But hey, here nor there, they play on the same team. So,
fact.
But even Javier would go, yeah, I don't have that. That guy's better than me. I'm doing well, but that's a Cy Young candidate. So I just to listen to that was like, are we kidding? Is it a slow news day? No, it's not, because the Bears play the Packers and there's a million things going on in sports right now. So if you want to have pointless conversations, like, yeah, sure, go ahead. To me, that's what that was. And I just, stupid to me that anybody would even think to question that.
Yeah, agreed. It's people are trying to find storylines. But it's
for
like,
what?
We know this already. I know. I agree. We know this already.
This team is like playing the most important stretch of baseball since 2019 right now. And that's not enough. Like, we have to sit there and debate like we're, Skip and Stephen A. Like, it's just stupid.
Skip.
Which is funny. Did you see, real quick, just off the topic, Shannon Sharp called Stephen A. Skip?
Stephen A. He had to correct him. He was like, well, look, Skip. And then Stephen A. wore the name tag today that said, hello, my name is Stephen A.
See, I don't watch that enough because if I wanted to yell.
I saw it on the internet. I didn't watch that shit either.
If I wanted to watch, two people yell at each other constantly, I would just, I'd pull up like bum fights or something.
You could just tell Juice and I to yell about something, and we could like do.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, we could script it so good that like you wouldn't even need to worry about it.
Yeah, we could talk about what don't we agree on, me and you?
I don't know.
Not much.
We're gonna have to dive into that. We'll find something. We'll find something.
We're already unlayering each other tonight, aren't we?
This is
Catholic school.
This is the chaotic win and series win episode is the title of the name, but I forgot to add the Cubs on Tap bonding win apparently too. Because Juice and I are just we're peeling back the layers of an onion like an ogre, like Shrek here, as things continue. But Juice,
more like a cake because everybody loves cake. Sorry, just did a little donkey there for you.
Donkey. I'm right there with you, brother. 11-8. Speaking of cake, I like to eat, and if I ate cake, then I would only be the San Francisco Giants if you ate cake. But if you have 11 runs, that means you win like the Cubs did tonight, Juice. And we got to start here. Mm-hmm. Jeremiah nailed it in the comments. We got to start here. Seiya Suzuki is on fucking fire right now. And like, that makes me genuinely happy. Like, we sat here early in the season at Cubs on Tap and went, if Seiya Suzuki takes that second-year leap at any point, this team's going to be dangerous. This lineup looks completely different when he's hitting on every single cylinder. And that's what he's doing right now. Since the month of August began, Seiya Suzuki looks healthy. Seiya Suzuki looks like the dude you paid $17 million a year for. And Seiya Suzuki is making me eat every single one of my words when I spoke bad about him this year. And that's good. If there's one thing I've learned here at Cubs on Tap, I like being wrong when I'm negative.
Yes.
Seiya Suzuki has been on fire, Juice. 4 hits tonight and 5 at-bats. 2 runs scored, 3 ribbies. Juice, if the season ended today, remember that stretch that Seiya went on and everybody went, son of a bitch, this guy just ain't it. If the season ended today, because of how hot he's been, he would end with a 273 average and an 807 OPS.
Yeah.
That's fucking bananas. Seiya Suzuki looks advertised. And I'll tell you what, Juice, if he's getting hot at the right time, again, baseball is a game of streaks, folks. Look at the last 4 or 5 World Series winners. If you get hot at the right time, good shit happens. Seiya Suzuki is right now the type of guy, Juice, that can carry this team into the postseason and maybe onto a deep run.
Yeah, it's great to watch him. I think he's learned that he has enough power and he has enough strength to just hit the ball the other way, and he can hit it pretty much out of anywhere. Sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it takes you going the other way and being like, man, I really have that amount of strength and I don't have to pull everything. And ever since he's done this up the middle, opposite field approach, everything else has just come. And now since they're trying to jam him in because of that, now he can go back to the strength of pulling the baseball. That now it starts to come into where do you pitch this guy? And that's kind of where he's at. I too want to credit Joe at Obvious Shirts just a little bit. I feel like ever since he's gotten the Justin Bieber Cubs
t-shirt,
that's things have been just crazy good for him. So shout out to Joe at Obvious Shirts, and thanks for doing that, because we definitely needed that candle lit on the proverbial cake we were talking about earlier. So yeah, I think that he makes this lineup so much different, right? I mean, when you have a guy like that who can put the bat on the ball too and not strike, he's not striking out at a large clip either, which that's a change in some of his. Sometimes I feel like him being more aggressive now has changed, the way that they're pitching to him. He's swung at first pitches a lot more often now. Maybe he's not doing much with them, but just the fact that he's showing that is kind of changing the way pitchers attack him. I also, too, believe that ever since they benched him, that's kind of perked his ears up, too, of hey, I look around this diamond, and there's guys on this roster that can take my spot, and I may be found on the outs. And that's not good. He just got here. Getting acclimated and having his, career come to this is almost like when Ian Happ needed to be sent down. And he got that experience to work on stuff and tinker. Now, he didn't get sent down, but there was a stretch of baseball there where a lefty was on the mound and Seiya Suzuki was not playing. And that has to hurt, right? It's got to be a stroke to the ego. It's got to be a questioning of why did I come here? He could have stayed in Japan and been, one of the best players in Japan. But no, he wanted the challenge of coming here and being a Cub and putting on the blue pinstripes and being a part of this. And I think it's a combination of a lot of stuff. It's approach. It's, swinging it more first pitch, in the zone stuff. But it's also, getting acclimated to here. And there's a lot of things that go around with the injury he had. And like you said, him being healthy, I think that there's a lot of things that have just kind of lined up for him post benching. And now the Cubs are reaping the benefits of it. And I hope he stays this hot for the rest of the season. It'd be crazy if him and Cody Bellinger were to stay at the rate that they're going at, because then you're just looking for one, maybe two others in a playoff series to catch fire and get hot. Because really, you can win playoff series with 4 players just killing in your lineup. And the way that they're constructed, if they pitch enough and play enough defense, they could absolutely make some noise in the playoffs. But he's got to keep it going, and I like what I'm seeing.
100%. And like Jeremiah says here, I guess we're all believers now. 100%. Seiya Suzuki can be that player. And Juice, you've said it time and time again on Cubs on Tap throughout the season. He is the type of player that can carry you over the stretch of a month. And he is very much, him and Belly have been those consistent cogs that you get the little hot streaks out of Ian. You get the little hot streak out of a guy like Jamer. You get the little hot streak out of a guy like Nico or Swanson, who had 2 more hits tonight after a big cold stretch there for a little while. The other guys in the lineup can go up and down as long as these 2 cogs can stay consistent. And that's exactly what we've seen here recently. And Juice, speaking of the offense, just a good offensive night for the Cubs. 15 total hits on the evening. 1 from Madrigal, 3 from Gomes, 1 from Candelario. We mentioned the 4 from Saya, 2 from Swanson, another from Belly, 2 from Horner, and the big 3-run shot from Morel, the only regular starter that got more than a single at bat. That being Ian Happ, was 0 for tonight with a walk. And obviously they then went through a little bit of rotating shift there at the DH spot. Talkman took the first AB, then Wisdom, and then Morel got 3 more ABs, including that home run.
Yeah, real quick too, Ron. Just Seiya Suzuki to round him out. Last 25 games, 362 average, 7 home runs, 18 RBIs, and a 1.142 OPS. Yeah, that'll play. That'll play.
That'll absolutely play. 100% agree with you there, Juice. And again, just a great night for the offense. They get things going. Speaking of the Saya, Darren said a little earlier, better launch angle and more aggressive at the plate. And Saya is in beast mode. It really does feel that way, Juice. On top of that, for tonight's game, I feel like something that goes, I don't want to use the term understated, but just maybe overlooked in a little bit of a way, is how this Cubs team continues to rally. Like, it gets talked about, but I truly don't think it gets appreciated enough in the Cubs fandom world. And that's not a shot that people don't appreciate it. It's just, it is so hard to rally like that in a sport of momentum like baseball. Like, momentum is very real in every sport. But usually the better team, even if momentum sways in the role of the underdog, the better team can more often than not come out on top. Baseball is truly a game where all you need is a hot segment of the game, something goes your way, and all of a sudden the terrible Royals, for example, can blow out the White Sox by 11 runs, right? Just happened the other day. That is what makes baseball so beautiful. But to be able to apply the brakes as a team when the other team gets ahead of you, as the Giants did tonight on the Cubs, and then they get ahead again, and to continually go, all right, boys, here we go. Offense, go out there, get a hit. Let's deliver. Really to talk and speak that momentum into existence via their actions is so rare. And that's why I think that is the number one attribute about this Cubs team that I love. I love the crazy cast of characters. I love the chaotic roller coaster that this season has been, Juice. But the one thing about this club, remember the shit slogan, because they were still only getting like 5,000 fans a night at the stadium? Remember when it was Ricky's Boys Don't Quit on the South Side?
I do.
It really is becoming Rossi's Boys Don't Quit. Like, this team just, they don't give a rat's ass if they're down a few runs. We're down a few runs? Okay. We'll battle back. It's fine. Just give us a few minutes. We need to get this shit going. Like tonight. Oh, it's a 6:40 start. We haven't had one of these in a while. It's been since, May 24th or some crazy shit, probably, since they had a night 6:40 start at Wrigley. Because for those that don't know, and this might be news to some people, so that's why I'm sharing it, in the months of April, May, and September, the Cubs play 6:40 home games when they play at night.
For school.
For school, exactly. For work, for whatever. Less daylight, etc. In the summer months, though, June, July, August, they play 7:05 starts, which is what we're historically used to as Cubs fans. This was the first 6:40 night since May. It's been a hot minute. I really think you would be shocked what that 25 minutes does to a ball club. When baseball is a game of habit. It's a habitual game. It's ritual. It's routine. It's every single motherfucking day. When you just get that little tinker in something like a schedule, it can really make a big difference. And that's exactly what happened tonight with this Cubs team, Juice. They started a little slow. They said, whoa, 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 whoa. We're better than this. We're home, folks. Let's go get that series win tonight. Let's rally. Let's get back out there. And the offense did exactly that, Juice.
It doesn't surprise me, though, that they play like this. Because if you look at the roster, it's just riddled with guys that understand that a baseball game is 9 innings. Like, if you look at – and they've been around the block. Cody Bellinger, Dansby Swanson, Jan Gomes. Nico Horner was here during, winning baseball seasons. Ian Happ, same thing. If you look up and down that lineup, it's a lot of guys that know how to win and understand that just because you're down 2-0 in the first or 3-0 or whatever, it doesn't mean that you're not going to have opportunities. And when those opportunities arise, you're going to get a chance to get back in the baseball game. I think when you're looking at this team, the thing that I always questioned, would they be able to hit enough to win baseball games? Because going into it, you didn't know that you were going to have the season that Cody Bellinger was going to have. You hoped, but I think this has far exceeded what any of us thought he would be. I think in some ways, power numbers wise, the same from Dansby Swanson. I mean, some of us looked at him and said, yeah, he's got the potential to hit close to 25 to 30 home runs, but you didn't know if he would get it. He was not, a middle of the lineup, high of the lineup order hitter for Atlanta. And I know that that's not, that's not doing him disservice, considering the fact that if you look at Atlanta, they're like a cheat code. But a lot of those guys on that team now were not on the team last year. They're newly acquired into that lineup. I look at this team and I'm like, man, it doesn't surprise me that they don't panic, because they have so much experience riddled within the roster that they get it. They understand that there's going to be moments in a baseball game where you get a good chance to come back. There always is. Think about it. Every baseball game you've ever watched, there's a chance, no matter who takes the lead or who doesn't, that one of two things are going to happen. A base hit's going to happen when there's runners on the corners or runners in scoring position or whatever, and a team's going to catch up, or that team that's with the lead is going to slam the door and usually go on to an easier win. But that's what's so great about this Cubs team, is they've really thrived in that moment, in the moment of, I need to get a hit here. I need to, manufacture extra bases or pass the baton or whatever. They've just been that good because they know how to win. This isn't and I think what was so frustrating about the past teams that we watched here on the north side was the Cubs won a World Series in 2016, and they remembered and were learning how to win in 2015, but they didn't sustain the winning ways that helped them propel to success in 2015 and 2016. We talked so often about how they left runners on base, and how there was always, the launch angle stuff and the simple plays of taking extra bases and, moving runners and just trying to put the ball in play more often. Those were things that fell on deaf ears, very much so. And it starts to wonder, too. I went at Ross on Sunday when we did our show about how maybe he's too stubborn, but maybe his stubbornness in some ways is good, because it's his philosophy. This is the way that David Ross wants his teams to play. Cubs play David Ross style baseball. When he was the manager for the World Series teams, that was not formatted to David Ross's managerial style. This is we're going to play smart defensive baseball. We're going to have decent pitching. I think they probably would have wished that they had a little better pitching right now. And then on offense, we're going to put the ball in play. We're going to move runners, and we're going to be aggressive on the base pass for the most part. I think that there's a few guys that could be a little bit more aggressive, but hey, they steal bases. They run. They hit and run every now and then. But this is what makes this Cubs team so fun to watch, because they play a brand of baseball that fits what their manager wants to do and what their farm system in the future wants to do. Look at all the guys they're drafting. I mean, great starting pitching, but if you look up and down the system, guys like Triantos, guys like, PCA, and, Owen Casey, and, Kevin Alcantara, they're athletic, but they put the ball in play. I mean, yeah, a lot of those guys are trying to cut down on strikeouts, but they're not just one-tool launch angle ponies. You know what I mean? They do multiple things great, and I think that's what keeps the Cubs in games, because they can beat you in so many ways. And when they get down, they know that I'm going to have a chance to get back, and all I got to do is put the ball in play and do my job. And they do that more often than not.
100%. Jeremiah says hit the like button. I agree with Jeremiah. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell button. You know the drill. You'll always know when we go live here at Cubs on Tap and all of our other great shows as well. And as Darren said, we got holes, but we can score runs. Also, Juice, worth noting, as Scott says here, Padres win. The Cubs are a game and a half back of the Phillies in the wild card. And that's what, I've sat on here and talked about with a couple of the guys recently, right? Let's get it to the point in the season where the Cubs make it known and say, okay, we are going to make the playoffs no matter what, right? Like, by that game when, fun little side note, Cubs on Tap is trying to all attend the game on September 22nd. If you're in the area and you want to come join us in the bleachers, please be sure to do so. But by that time, we want to be locked up, right? I think all of us are like, hey, let the Cubs be in a playoff spot. Like, confirmed by that point. That way, all it is at that point is, okay, we're chasing the division with legitimately, a week and 2 days left in the season at that point. I mean, that's where we want to be. And it's this kind of baseball that's going to get them there. It really is. Like tomorrow, I hope they go for the sweep. I really do. I really do. And that is exactly where my head stands right now. Juice, there's one thing I want to bring up. It is not a shot at anybody. It's generating. You got two.
We got two things. There's one that upset me tonight, but go on.
Okay. Well, I got one really quick. And we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. But I was debating with the Dingers account, which I know was Mitch. Shout out Mitch. About Canario.
Oh, yeah. Roster. Yeah.
And it's not even like I need him to play every day. And I get it. You want to have a guy up and him to experience the clubhouse. And that's great. But like, to me, why bring up a guy that's a top 30 prospect if you're just not going to play him? To me, that just feels like a weird roster move. Unless you truly believe. Again, and I'm happy to sit here and be wrong. I will always say that. Happy. But unless you're truly worried about him and like the character as a player, and you think him being around the Dansbys in the world is going to help you because he learns how to be a pro per se, maybe that's the one thing you think he's missing. Why wouldn't you let him play down in Iowa? He missed 100 games. Like it's just fact. I'm not even trying to sit here and be like, well, he did do this. No. Like legitimately, like he was hurt. Shit happens. It's ugly. It's not fun. It's sports. He missed almost 100 games. He's played 53 games this year? A decent chunk of those were at the Arizona Complex League. He played a few at high A in your backyard, Juice. And then he went up to AAA and then he got hot. And that's where like, wouldn't the Iowa Cubs playoff chase be good for him too? Right? Like, again, not even trying to be a sarcastic prick about this. Like, truly, it just, unless the only fear of this front office is like, he just needs to learn how to become a pro and he's going to be that dude. Why is he just sitting the bench? And I agree. And this was Mitch's point. He said, well, you can't just give up on the DH options because they need to get it right. And I think he means more morale than wisdom because let's be honest, wisdom to me is a lost cause. That's neither here nor there. But like, I'm also in the same boat of like, well, if you just want Morel to play tonight, just let him DH straight out. Why let Talkman start off as the DH and get one at bat? To me, that is fucking useless. Let Christopher get those 5 at-bats at the top of the lineup. Let him lead off, too. Fuck it. Why not? Didn't they start against a lefty?
Mm-hmm.
Let him do it. He got the big home run. He shows you why he needs to be in the lineup every single day. Like, I think what this gives me tonight is there are still ways this Cubs team can get better. You mentioned about Justin Steele, right? He's just scratching the surface. I think this Cubs team can be better on a night-to-night basis. I just feel like there's some nights where you look at the lineup and you go, that's weird. And then they end up getting there anyway. Tonight was that example. I would have started Morel. Instead, he missed out on 2 at-bats and he still got 3 and he hit a 3-run bomb. And that's awesome. I want Christopher in the lineup every day. I have a Morel jersey. I've invested a lot of motherfucking money in this guy. From a personal standpoint, I love Christopher Morel. I love everything he's about. Ironically, the day that I got his jersey, we were all walking past because it was 10:30 in the morning because we're psychopaths and we get down to Wrigley as early as possible. Saw Christopher walking in the ballpark, showed him the jersey, got a little wave and a little "I appreciate you" little thing. It was cool. I love Christopher Morel. It's not the point. I just think unless Canario truly just needs to learn how to be a pro, and the Cubs front office is like, yeah, he checks every box, he's good, like we're not worried about the injury, then great. Just let him be on the 28 man and see the field once in the next 3 weeks. That's fine. But I find that hard to believe as somebody who is overcautious with prospects in general. Like you should give them more time than you think they need. Him sitting on the bench after missing 100 games or 95 games or whatever is more beneficial than him sitting the bench. I know he's playing Arizona Fall League, and I'm grateful for that because he's going to get damn near 100 games of baseball this year despite missing 95 games. That's fantastic. We all like that. We're all on the same page here. Yes. But it's this weird part of like, it's this division in Cubs Twitter. And again, we can use it from an isolated perspective with myself and with Mitch. And again, we're all friends here. We like the Dingers guys. They're part of the Untapped Sports Network. We're friends of theirs. Folks, if everybody had the same fucking agreement and ideas about everything, this would not be a fun thing to do. Debate's good. So I'm not sitting here and being like, Mitch is wrong. Just explaining my side of the story here. And I understand his side of the story as well. It's just, I wish we knew more information as to why. Like if they truly just said, hey, we think him being around Dansby and even Christopher and Belly and all these guys during this playoff run is just going to help him because it's the only thing we think he's missing from a development point. Great. Then I'll eat my words and I'll shut the fuck up. That's fine. But right now, it just feels like you couldn't give him a couple more at bats at the other level. I don't even need him to play in Chicago. I don't care. I like Christopher in the DH spot every day. I do. I promise. He looks great there. I like when he hits bombs like he did tonight. That shit's cool and tough. Just help me understand. And this is more directed at the front office. Help us understand why Canario's on the roster and not playing. Mm-hmm. That's all I ask. It's generating more like almost acid reflux amongst Cubs fans than is necessary. And for those that get acid reflux, you can relate. It is pissing off Cubs fans for no reason. And I get it. Yes. To Mitch's point, well, why is everybody so fascinated with a 28th man on the roster? I get that. But it's not just another 28th man. Historically, in my lifetime, the 28th man is some AAA dude. It's the guy. It is the Miles Mastrobonis of the world, right? Like that's what we're used to as Cubs fans, is the 28th man or those September call-up guys. Not a legitimate prospect that's in your top 20, who last year led your system in home runs, and if it wasn't for a set of tragic injuries, would probably be in your top 10 prospects this year, in my humble opinion, if he did anything close to what he did last year.
There's a good chance he's in the top 100 in all baseball.
Right. That is the only thing that I sit here and stand with the Canario thing. I am fine if the Cubs say he's just here because he legitimately needs to learn. Great. Then I think you did the right thing. And again, we always talk about it. We talk about it on Bears on Tap, Juice, like we did earlier. There's so many things that you see from the outside that you truly don't know. You don't know the whole story. And I think this could be one of those. I just wish we had more clarity as fans, because it is like it's starting, not fights, but heavy debates.
There's about why two things about this situation that kind of make me think, one of which is we don't get this treatment from Theo Epstein. So that's why I think a lot of this is Jed Hoyer being new at the job. Like at least Theo, like what I loved about Theo is if he made a move, the next day he was on a radio show or he was on, the Marquee Network going, hey, this is what we're doing. I mean, when Theo took the job, he's like, I'm going to tear this thing down to the guts, and it's going to be a long time before we're good again. And then we're going to add some players through the draft. We're going to, add different, hitters and things like that, and then we'll buy pitching. He told you exactly what he was going to do.
And he did it.
And this has made Jed Hoyer to me, like the way he does things is I like my little secret anonymity a little bit more maybe than Theo did. And I think that maybe that's a personality trait. Theo's very honest. He tells you the way he thinks and what he's thinking. Where I think Jed, too, like, I've listened to it in Jed's answers. He tries to beat around the bush a lot. He really does. He's not that, like, we're doing this, and this type of guy. He likes to keep the secret stuff behind the curtain, which that's fine. I understand that. But there's a time where you have to come out and accept the criticism and accept the wonder of the side being like, well, why is he here? Can you tell us why he's here? And you owe that, I think, to the fans at least to say, like, hey, listen, like, he's here for this reason. And we haven't really gotten that. We just haven't. The flip on that, too, like, I more or less, like, I agree with you. I see the Mitch point, but I also, too, look at it as, like, if he needs to come up here to learn how to be a pro, that's a detriment on your AAA staff. Like, he should be able to learn down there what he needs to do here. The good organization. Yeah, the good organizations do that, right? They don't make you jump through hoops because they feel more confident about him being here opposed to there. They say, we're going to do what's best for development in terms of him getting playing time. And the rest of the stuff we'll figure out over a course of the timeline for him becoming a major leaguer. But and I hate that whole comment about, it's just why is everybody so enamored by the 28th man? Because the 28th man can win you a baseball game every now and then. And we don't know if he can or not. Like, that's just my 2 cents on it. I get the idea of, like, coming up and being a professional and being next to guys who, have done it before. I understand that. And truth be told, other than David Bodie down there's not a lot of mentoring on that team. It's young, right? I mean, there's guys who have had a cup of coffee within the major leagues, but not a lot of guys who could speak to being in the show for a long, extended period of time. And in a period of time of winning either. Like, I mean, David Bodie loved him to death, but the Cubs were at the tail end of that and was a lot of built-up frustration within the teams that David Bodie was on. I don't know. I want him to play because I think in terms of the injury and now the only thing you're doing is cooling him off. And he's not learning anything in terms of like what major league pitching looks like by not getting in the box against the Reds or getting in the box against the Giants. He's just not. And if your idea is that it doesn't matter, that doesn't matter, he's going to be fine. I've never heard a situation where repetition doesn't help a player. I've never heard that. I mean, I will always, get on the side of I think that the player should play, especially a guy who's young as he is. I mean, he's got a lot to learn. Even if you weren't concerned about his bat, I mean, there's things he can learn defensively. And that's where I look at this. I don't know. I get both sides of it, but I lean on your side there, Ron.
Like I said, I'm not here to start wars, right, on Twitter, but I think it's truly just get both sides, right? It's have a little empathy from the side of a sports fan of just like, I respect your opinion. I understand why you're like, hey, he'll be fine. I hope he is. That's great. I have no issue with that. But for a 23-year-old, right? He's not 27 and in his prime and he just needs to learn a little bit being on the bench. No, it's like he's still really young. And like Jeremiah said here, like he was part of that Chris Bryant deal. Like he's not just some prospect. He's a legitimately top prospect in this organization. Some really good quotes here in the comment section as well, Juice, from our latest conversation. Scott says, this was a little bit earlier. Currently, the Cubs have an average 5-man rotation. Come playoff time, it drops to a 3 or 4-man rotation. He says he's looking for still to have a Madison Bumgarner type playoff run. Maybe. If it gets that far and that deep, that's probably a good thing. Joey says, agree. Morel Homer doesn't change his opinion on that. Young could be the last man on the bench already on the 40-man. Canario was scorching, needs the AB somewhere. He says Iowa or Chicago. Hank says it makes absolutely no sense to have Canario here if Ross never gives him an at-bat. Jeremiah says, odd fun fact, the Padres are the only team to not have a 4-game winning streak. That's kind of depressing, actually. Scott says, side note, just started watching the replay tonight's game. Chuck looked like he gained 30 pounds since being a Cub. That West Coast sushi and pasta will do that to you. Joey says, cross-tap dinger show would be great soon. Contrast his opinions is always awesome to him. Agree 100%. I think that's been in the cards for a while now. It needs to happen. Darren, I think Morel should play some fall ball with a designated fielding coach and get some second base time or outfield time, something. I wouldn't be against that either. He says at very least Canario could DH for a couple of bats to start out a game. I think like Canario in the doubleheader would have been perfect.
And that's what I didn't understand. He didn't get
for just one game. Even if we got to this point and you said, hey, he's been up for 8 games, but we used him once, and that's going to be the rhythm. At least you used him. He's just sitting there. I don't know. Again, opinions are.
And throw a hat here, though, Ron. Do you think that they don't want to play him against the Giants because they probably have a good scouting report on him?
Maybe.
Or does that not even matter?
I don't even think it's the Giants series for me, though. I'm fine with him not being in the lineup tonight. Truthfully, I'll be 100% honest with you, Juice. If he plays in the second game of that doubleheader, I'm not sitting here having this debate on Twitter with people tonight. Yeah. Because I'm at least like, hey, they used him, and they don't want to use him in a series where it's 3 games and it matters. To me, he was the perfect player you deploy in a doubleheader, right? Like that felt like the prime opportunity to give him a taste. Because at that point, if he says, he goes 0 for 4, and you say, okay, we're going to keep you up, but you're clearly not ready yet, that's okay. It's the fact that he's just sitting there. You don't even know what he could do in a game against MLB starting pitcher. If he looks lost, that's okay. If he looks found, that's okay. But not knowing if he's lost or found is mentally tantalizing when trying to figure out what kind of player he could be at the show. And I think that's where a lot of my...
You think he'll play?
At this point, I don't know. I legit would not be surprised if he doesn't play a single game.
And what a waste of an option at that point, right?
Right.
I mean,
that's the thing. Is like, if you were worried about just, we want a guy that we don't have to waste an option on because he's not going to go anywhere, call up Jared Young, who's been hotter than shit at Iowa right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's the perfect left-handed bat off the bench late in a game type guy. And at least he's been up and knows what to do and plays first base. Like, again, folks, if the Iowa Cubs were fucking dog shit this year, sure.
Yeah,
let them be in a winning mentality. The Iowa Cubs are in the playoff picture in AAA, folks. Like, this is not a secret. They're there. Like, they're probably going to have an opportunity to go on a playoff run. And you have a damn good roster to do it. It's a completely different situation. I don't know. Again, it's mind-boggling to me. It is what it is. I had to bring it up. I had to vent and a voice and vent and voice my opinion of what I thought with that. Juice, 11-8 victory. Saya goes off. Offense gets it done. Pitching wasn't sensational, but it, again, got the job done. Any final thoughts before we look ahead to tomorrow's series finale?
Yeah, the bullpen's starting to worry me a little bit. There's one guy who I really am starting to like, and that's Jose Cuas.
Jose Cuas.
I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of him. I like his funky delivery. If he can throw strikes consistently, he's gross. Gets the ball on the ground a lot. It's a guy I think that potential lean-on type guy maybe later on in the season here. Leiter needs a little break. I feel like these innings are maybe catching up to him a little bit, and even Merriweather getting taken deep. You don't like to see that, like right now. You know what I mean? Like the one thing we can't have is those two guys on shaky betting right now. We just can't, because then where do you go? Because I mean, yeah, I just mentioned Quas, but he walks a lot of people. He's a little erratic. You talk about Keegan Thompson. Yeah, he's had two decent outings, but the other one, as of recently, not so great. Maybe he's a guy. Now you got some guys coming like Fulmer and Hughes and Birdie and potential. Maybe those are guys that maybe can work their way into this conversation if they're given the chance. But yeah, I didn't like what I saw out of much of the bullpen today. Same thing with Wisniewski. I thought he was great the other night against the Reds, and then he just did not have the slider tonight. I mean, just spinning on him all day. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to keep my eye on over the course of this next week too, because there's a lot of baseball to be played over the course of the next 8 days here, and yeah, it's just going to be one of those that I got my alert on. I didn't like what I saw out of the pen tonight, and hopefully offense bailed you out. One of these days now you're going to have to bail the offense out. So be ready, and let's hope that that solves itself in the next couple.
I like that final thought. Before I give mine just quickly to the comments, a little more trickling in from the Canario discussion. Joey says, or even Sunday, they faced a guy making an MLB debut from AA. What's a better matchup than that? Fair question. Scott says, looking for him to play in the Rockies series. I hope he's right. I truly do. And following up Scott's comment with his other comment, he says he's been on the roster for 5 days. True. They played 6 games in those 5 days. Like, again, to me, the day you have 2 games in 1 day is the perfect time to play a guy when you literally expanded the rosters the day of the doubleheader. Like, just systematically, that makes sense in my head. I'm an accountant. I like structural things. Structurally playing extra guys you get help for on a day when you need the extra help makes fucking sense. But I agree. Hey, if he plays in the Rocky series, like Scott just said, cool. Then I drop my entire grievance. Truthfully, I just want to know why he's here.
And give him a
That's really
shot.
what it comes to. Yeah,
You never know what you got until they play.
Exactly.
What's he going to do that's so bad? Ground into a double play? It happens. He's going to DH if he plays. He's not going to be in the field, right?
Yeah, Patrick Wisdom does the same thing. So it's totally fine. Jeremiah says, I think he's only there if Hap, Cody, or Seiya get hurt. Shit, I hope none of them get hurt. Jeremiah also says the Iowa Cubs look like a better team than the 2021 Cubs. At least the 2021 Cubs following the trade deadline. I would completely agree with that. And then Darren said earlier, a little bit after that, Leiter needs his splitter to start working again.
Yeah, that's why I'm concerned.
Fair. I totally think that is entirely fair. Juice, my final thought is just keep digging deep and winning ball games. Like, I don't care how it's won. It could be the prettiest. We won 10-1 over so-and-so team, and we barely touched our bullpen, and it's great. Nice. Love those wins. I'm also cool with the win that's kind of ugly, like tonight was for small points of time, where you're like, son of a bitch, why can't this team hit? And all of a sudden, boom, they hit. And you're like, okay, cool. You did exactly what I wanted. Again, we rode the roller coaster tonight. That was the theme of tonight's game, riding the roller coaster. I'm happy they came away with the win. I'm pumped they came away with the win. Made my day very, very, very good. Much better than it was earlier in the day. I just continue to win ball games. I don't care how. Just do it. As long as it says W, as long as the W doesn't leave the cap up here, I don't care how it's done. It's not. I don't ask how. I ask how many. And in this case, it's another Cubs victory tonight gets them to their 75th win on the season, officially exceeding the 2022 Cubs in W's, who finished with 74. Quickly to the comments here. The next 2 series against the D-backs will be huge, as Jeremiah says. And then Scott Crawford says, time to watch the part of the Bears on Tap episode I missed earlier tonight. just dialing out already. We're not done yet, Scott. We still got to talk about Wednesday's game because, ladies and gentlemen, in case you didn't know, there is one more game left in the series. Cubs go for the it rhymes with weep and it starts with an S on Wednesday afternoon. It's a getaway day game. It's a 1:20 start on Wednesday at beautiful Wrigley Field. It's the Cubs and Giants once again. Giants pitcher is legitimately TBD, and I will double down and said I did research. So you can check two sources usually that'll give you the right answer. MLB.com, and if they say, oh, it's TBD, go to ESPN Fantasy Baseball or any fantasy baseball app and find they have somebody probable to start pitching because they will usually be the first on it. Even ESPN Fantasy Baseball has nobody pitching yet for the Giants tomorrow. So it is legitimately to be determined. I don't have a single mother effing clue who is starting.
It's going to be Russ Ortiz.
Maybe it is Russ Ortiz.
Remember Russ Ortiz?
I do remember Russ Ortiz. That name scares the shit out of me. It is PTSD all over again from a baseball fan standpoint. Nonetheless, again, TBD. I truly don't care who starts for the Giants tomorrow. We're at that point in the season. I don't give a rat's ass who's on the bump. But for your Cubs, it is the rookie, the man with the specs, the lefty, Jordan Wicks, 2-0, 180 ERA, 12 Ks on the season so far. For these Cubbies, they are going for something that starts with S and rhymes with weep, as Jeremiah notes here in the comment section. Oh, and then I'm getting flooded by these. Oh, okay, so everybody lied to me. Apparently it's Alex Wood going on the bump tomorrow. Former Dodger, now Giant. Former Red as well, Alex Wood, lefty, on the bump tomorrow. Juice. What do the Cubs need to do tomorrow to get the thing that starts with an S and rhymes with a weep?
Get some depth out of Jordan Wicks. It'd be nice to see him continue his success. Be cool to see him get to the sixth inning this time. Maybe save a little bit of that bullpen. Get to Alex Wood. I'm sure that's one of those starts that they're begging for him to get length, considering that they used a lot of guys tonight and the night before. It'd be great to just put a crooked number up early, hand that lenient, rope to Jordan Wicks, and then let him work through six and hand it over to the bullpen for, the last, 3 innings to get this thing done and locked up. And then you had the D-backs come to town for that 4-game set that will be very huge, very, very huge. Just continue doing what they're doing. Play winning baseball. Play Cubs-style baseball. Put the ball in play. Run the bases. When you get a break, take advantage of it. It's baseball. And this is what you got to say over the course of September, because at this point it feels like every team knows how to beat every other team, and it's just a matter of execution at this point. Everybody knows where they have to pitch a guy. Everybody knows what a pitcher wants to do. And now it's just about executing your pitch, executing the at-bat, just playing smart, competitive, good defense and let the cards fall where they're going to fall.
Well said, Juice. Even to thicken the pot, Scott says Yahoo is Tristan Beck starting tomorrow. Exactly. Nobody knows. Sit here and call me out, Joey.
Nobody knows.
Exactly. Nobody knows who the hell's starting for the Giants tomorrow. But it doesn't matter, Juice, because like you said, at this point in the season, it's all about execution. Everybody knows how to hit. Everybody knows how to pitch who at this point. Just get her done. Darren says, man, if Wicks could go 6 with only giving up a run. Yeah, it'd be hot. It'd be sexy. Again, I know they're worried about his pitch count, and that's fine. Truly, I am asking for the bare minimum of 5. Anything past that, to me, at this point with Wicks is absolute gravy.
Just FYI, it is Alex Wood tomorrow.
It is Alex Wood. All right, we're going to go with Alex Wood. Nonetheless, Joey says, Giants beat guy reporting it. Don't listen to Scott's trolling. I am just relaying the information we are given because we are on a live show, folks. A reminder, if you want to join us live, go over to the YouTube. You know the drill. Like, subscribe, hit the bell button. You'll always know when we go live. So it's Alex Wood versus Jordan Wicks, a pair of lefties on the bump tomorrow. I want to see Christopher Morel starting, Mitch, in the DH spot. Let him get all 5 at-bats. I hope they get 5 at-bats again, because if that's the case, it means they're putting up crooked numbers. even though 11's technically not a crooked number, as Boog noted on the broadcast tonight, and JD would probably agree with. Nonetheless, get big numbers. Big numbers are cool and tough. The bigger the number, the harder they fall, and the more we like it here at Cubs on Tap. Juice. Before we get out of here, buddy, I want to remind everybody Cubs on Tap is one of two official Cubs podcast of the On Tap Sports Network. Check out our friends over at the Dingers podcast. Again, help spark a large part of our conversation this evening.
Embrace debate.
Embrace debate. Embrace debate, baby. At Dinger Cubs on social media. Be sure to follow us as well at Cubbies on Tap, Cubbies. It was a good one tonight. Mayhem, Magic, Morel, and Morel, as my little tagline says here. We got it all at Cubbies on Tap, at Luce on Tap, at Juice on Tap, at Joey Knows Nothing, Teddy Freddy 270, Nick _ on Tap, Bulls Guy Rob. You know the drill. Follow everybody that contributes here at Cubs on Tap. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks. We got it all. Bears, guys, we were live earlier. That's why I said you probably heard Juice and I earlier today with our boy Q talking about Bears Packers on Sunday. Juice will be at the game. If you see him in the South lot, go say hi, have a beer with him, maybe take a shot with him too. The more shots Juice has in the parking lot, the better the Bears do. It's not my rules. It's just
trying
the
to kill me.
universe's rules. It's just the universe's rules, Juice. Juice. If the Cubs are going to win a game and the Bears are going to win a game in the same day, Juice needs to take a lot of shots in the South lot. It's the world. It's the world at this point. So be sure to go see Juice again. Bears on Tap. Bulls on Tap goes live on Wednesday. Four Feathers Pod also will be live very, very soon. Be sure to check all those out. And again, Cubs fans, you know the drill. We've all got friends that are depressed because they're Southsiders. Send your friends to our friends, and they can be friends over at Sox on Tap. The boys do a good job covering the shitbags over at 35th and Shields. Once again, ontapsportsnet.com, at ontapsportsnet on social media, the OnTap Sportsnet. Go and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. It was a thick show tonight. Darren, we appreciate you. He says you guys are the best. Hashtag everybody in. I love that slogan. It was a good one. Talkman leading off. He hits lefties fine, according to Darren, a little bit over here. Jeremiah won 6 ABs. We want all kinds of crazy shit, Juice. What do you say, buddy? We get out of here the only way we know how? At Cubs on Tap?
FTC, FTP, and let's go Cub Bees.
I have nothing else to add. That was perfect, sir. Touche. FTB, FTC. Also, just because it's the series, fuck the Giants.
Fuck the Giants.